The most controlled man in any room isn't the one who smiles. It's the one people are afraid to push too far. Somewhere along the way, you forgot that truth. You were trained to be agreeable, to be pleasant, to compress yourself into forms that made others feel comfortable. You were told that kindness was strength, that turning the other cheek was virtue, and that, somehow, the meek would inherit the earth. But look around. Look at who actually inherits the earth. It is not the meek, it is not the gentle. It is not those who apologize for existing. It is those who carry within them a silent, unmistakable warning, a presence that whispers without speaking, "Do not test me." That quality, that intangible, magnetic, terrifying quality is what I call being dangerous. Not violent, not aggressive, not loud, dangerous. And in this soft world of curated personalities, conflict avoidance, and emotional fragility, you have been systematically disarmed. You've been convinced that danger is primitive, that it belongs to a different era, that it has no place in civilized society. But here is what Niccolò Machiavelli understood 500 years ago, a truth that still slices through every layer of modern self-help garbage. The man who cannot be dangerous is not peaceful. He is merely harmless, and the harmless are never respected. They are managed. This video is not about becoming cruel. It's not about hurting others or walking through life with clenched fists. This is about something far more subtle, far more powerful. By the end, you will understand what it truly means to cultivate an edge, a psychological sharpness that protects you without ever being drawn. You will learn how the modern world conspires to make you soft, why they profit from your compliance, and how to rebuild the dangerous core that has been slowly stripped from you since childhood. But understand this, not everyone is ready to hear what follows. If you still believe that niceness alone will shield you from exploitation, if you think good intentions are enough to navigate wolves dressed as colleagues, friends, or lovers, then perhaps this message isn't for you. But if something in you already knows, if there's a voice buried deep that whispers, "I've been too accommodating for too long," then stay. Because what we're about to uncover isn't taught in schools, isn't praised in polite company, and will never appear on a motivational poster. Let's begin. There was a time when every man carried a knife. Not metaphorically, literally. A blade at the hip, a tool, a statement, a reminder to the world and to himself. I am capable. This wasn't about violence. It was about acknowledgement, an unspoken social contract that said, we are all dangerous here. And because we all are, we treat each other with respect. Machiavelli lived in that world. Florence in the late 1400s was not a place for the timid. City-states warred for dominance. Alliances shifted like sand. Betrayal was not a question of if, but when, and survival. True survival required more than good intentions. It required teeth. Machiavelli saw men rise and fall not based on virtue, but on their willingness to be feared when the moment demanded it. He observed what centuries of sanitized philosophy tried to hide. That power flows toward those who are perceived as capable of wielding it. He wrote in The Prince, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." That line is famous, quoted endlessly, usually misunderstood. People read it as an endorsement of tyranny, as permission for cruelty. But look closer. Machiavelli never said to be cruel. He said to be capable of it, to carry within yourself the potential for decisive, overwhelming force, and to let that potential be sensed by others. The difference is everything. The cruel man is reactive. He punishes because he cannot control himself. He lashes out because he lacks internal strength. His violence is weakness, wearing a mask. But the dangerous man is something else entirely. He is restrained, composed, still. And precisely because of that stillness, everyone senses the depth beneath. There's an old concept in Italian called terribility. It was used to describe Michelangelo. Not his art, but his presence. His ability to walk into a room and silence it. not through threats, through weight, through an aura of such concentrated power that even popes hesitated before crossing him. That is the quality we've lost. That is the quality this soft world has stolen from you. It didn't happen by accident. The systematized weakening of the human spirit is perhaps the most successful psychological operation in history. It began with good intentions, as all manipulation does. Schools taught you to share, to cooperate, to suppress the competitive instinct that once kept your ancestors alive. You learned to wait your turn, to defer to authority, to never under any circumstances make a scene. Conflict resolution became the highest virtue. Not conflict mastery, which requires strength, but conflict avoidance, which requires only cowardice rebranded as maturity. And slowly, without realizing it, you absorbed a message repeated 1,000 different ways. Dangerous is bad, safe is good, power is suspicious, compliance is virtue. By the time you reached adulthood, the conditioning was complete. You had internalized a world where standing your ground was aggressive, where setting firm boundaries was toxic, where carrying yourself with unapologetic authority was intimidating, and intimidating, you were taught, is the worst thing a person could be. But ask yourself this: who benefits when you are easily intimidated? Who profits when your first instinct is to appease rather than assert? Not you. The answer is everyone who seeks to control you. Employers who want labor without resistance. Partners who want compliance without negotiation. Systems that want conformity without question. Machiavelli understood this dynamic with surgical precision. He wrote, "Men are so simple and so subject to present necessities that he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived." The softening is not an accident. It is a strategy. A population of harmless individuals is a population that is easily governed, easily sold to, easily manipulated. Dangerous men and women are inconvenient. They ask questions. They resist exploitation. They cannot be bullied into consensus. And so the world decided, we will make danger itself taboo, not violence. Violence is clumsy, prosecutable, often counterproductive. But danger, the quiet internal capacity to devastate if necessary, that had to go. And for most people, it did. Look at the language of modern self-improvement. It's all about softening. Be vulnerable. Be open. Let go of your armor. Show your wounds. And there's truth in that. Vulnerability has its place. Connection requires openness. But vulnerability without power is just an invitation for exploitation. The message is never complete. It's always be soft. Never be soft when it serves you, and dangerous when it doesn't. The most predatory individuals on earth didn't read a single book about healing their inner child. They studied the people who did, and they learned to recognize prey by the vocabulary of surrender. You were disarmed with kindness. Now let's talk about rearming. Here is the paradox most will never grasp. The truly dangerous are often the most peaceful. They do not start fights. They do not seek confrontation. They move through the world with a kind of quiet that unsettles people precisely because it cannot be decoded. Violence is loud. Danger is silent. Violence is reactive. Danger is patient. Violence desperately needs to prove itself. Danger has nothing to prove. When I speak of becoming dangerous, I am not speaking of fists or fury. I am speaking of reclaiming something that lives inside every human being but has been suppressed through shame, conditioning, and cultural programming. It is your capacity for intensity, your willingness to say no and mean it, your ability to walk away from situations that diminish you without explaining yourself, your refusal to be manipulated by guilt, obligation, or the social pressure of niceness. Machiavelli observed that men of power maintain control not through constant action, but through the perception of what they could do if provoked. He advised, never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. But crucially, he also made clear that force must remain an option, not used recklessly, but present, visible, felt. This is what I call the weight of a person. Have you ever encountered someone who never raises his voice, never threatens, never postures, yet you instinctively know not to cross him? That is presence. It cannot be manufactured. It comes from deep inner alignment, from certainty. I am capable. I am willing. And in this moment, I choose restraint. The choice is everything. A man who cannot fight is not peaceful. He is simply incapable. His calm is not a decision. It is a limitation. But a man who can devastate, who carries that capacity calmly within him, and who chooses stillness, that man has earned his peace, and everyone around him senses the difference. Human beings are exquisitely attuned to danger. 10,000 years of evolution have wired your nervous system to detect threats within milliseconds, long before your conscious mind catches up. We read micro-expressions. We sense tension in posture. We feel the difference between someone who is performing calm and someone who is calm. And this is why authenticity matters. You cannot fake danger. You can only cultivate it. The man who puffs his chest, who speaks loudly, who overcompensates with aggression. He is easy to read. His performance betrays insecurity. Every excess signals weakness. But the man who is still, he becomes a question mark. And question marks are terrifying to those who need to categorize you, predict you, and control you. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand because everybody can see you, but few come in touch with you." What he meant was simple. Image creates reality. If people perceive you as dangerous, you are functionally dangerous whether or not you ever act on it. The perception alone changes how they treat you. It changes what they're willing to attempt. This is why presence matters, not the theatrical, self-conscious presence of someone who's read too many body language books. Real presence. The kind that emerges when a person knows who they are, what they're capable of, and what they will not tolerate. You cannot manufacture this overnight, but you can begin. It starts with a question. What am I afraid to do that I know I should? Maybe it's speaking up when someone disrespects you. Maybe it's walking away from a situation that drains you. Maybe it's saying no to someone who has relied on your compliance. That moment, the one your body tenses around, is precisely where your danger lives. And every time you avoid it, you bury yourself a little deeper. Conversely, every time you move toward it, not with aggression, but with cold, deliberate clarity, you reclaim a piece of the weight you lost. Here is an uncomfortable truth. Modern culture doesn't just tolerate weakness, it celebrates it. Victimhood has become currency. The fragile are platformed, the offended are amplified. And the strongest message a person can send in the contemporary world is, "I am hurt." And it is someone else's fault. Why? Because victimhood is safe. It makes no demands. It removes responsibility. The victim cannot be criticized because they are suffering. They cannot be challenged because they are wounded. And most importantly, they cannot be feared because they have willingly surrendered the capacity for danger. This is exactly what certain power structures want. A population of self-identified victims never organizes resistance. They seek protection, not power. They look upward for saviors, not inward for strength. But look at those who actually shape the world. They do not identify as victims. Even when they have suffered greatly, and many have, they do not lead with wounds. They lead with will. Machiavelli wrote that fortune is a woman, and if you wish to keep her under, it is necessary to beat and illuse her. Crude language, deliberately provocative and easily dismissed. But beneath the metaphor is a principle. Life rewards those who act upon it, not those who wait to be acted upon. Fortune, circumstance, luck, fate does not favor the passive. It does not reward patience alone. It responds to audacity, to aggression, to movement. This is not cruelty, it is agency. The world is not designed to nurture you. It is designed to shape you into whatever role is most convenient for whoever holds power at the time. If you remain soft, you will be molded. If you become dangerous, you begin to mold. There is a part of you that has been exiled, a part that used to roar, that used to know exactly what it wanted and was unashamed to pursue it. When you were young, this part was still awake. You threw tantrums. You demanded. You weren't polite. You were alive in a primal, unedited way. And then, year after year, you were taught to bury it. Don't be too much. Don't take up too much space. Don't make others uncomfortable. You learned that your raw energy was a problem to be solved, that your ambition was arrogance, that your fire was dangerous, and dangerous was bad. So you dampened it. You made yourself smaller, less threatening, more palatable, and now you wonder why you feel exhausted, why life feels gray, why you struggle to feel anything with the intensity you once did. It's because the fire was never extinguished. It was just buried, smothered, buried alive, and it is waiting for you to dig it out. Carl Jung, a psychologist who understood the shadow better than perhaps anyone, wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Why terrifying? Because complete self-acceptance means accepting your danger. It means acknowledging the part of you that could destroy, manipulate, dominate. Not because you will, but because you could. This is what Jung called integrating the shadow. The shadow is not evil. It is simply the parts of you that were deemed unacceptable and banished to the unconscious. And your capacity for danger, that was one of the first things to go. Reclaiming it doesn't mean becoming violent. It means becoming whole. A whole person contains light and darkness, gentleness and severity, compassion, and the capacity for devastating force. When both exist in balance, you become something rare. A person who chooses kindness, not out of weakness, but out of strength. That choice, conscious, deliberate, rooted in capacity, is what gives kindness its meaning. A lamb is not kind for refusing to attack. It simply cannot. A lion who chooses peace, that is something else entirely. That is dangerous. Let me be specific. Being dangerous in the modern world does not require physical strength, though that helps. It does not require wealth, though resources create options. It does not require a network of powerful allies, though isolation is vulnerability. What it requires first and above all is internal non-negotiability. There must be lines within you that cannot be crossed. Not external rules imposed by society, but personal absolutes that you would defend with everything you have. Most people have no such lines. They will tolerate almost anything if the social pressure is strong enough. They will abandon their values when the group disapproves. They will sell out their integrity for approval, comfort, or convenience. That is what makes them manageable. The dangerous person is unmanageable, not because they are rebellious for its own sake. Rebellion without purpose is adolescence, not power, but because they have core commitments that cannot be bought, bullied, or negotiated away. Machiavelli warned that the promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. He understood that most people operate by convenience, that their commitments are performances, not realities, that their loyalty extends precisely as far as their comfort. The dangerous person operates differently. When they commit, they mean it. When they draw a line, they hold it. When they speak, their words carry weight, because the listener knows they are backed by something real. That something real is not physical force. It's psychological certainty. The certainty that you will not waver, that pressure will not move you, that manipulation will find no purchase. This certainty is felt, not explained. And once it becomes your foundation, everything changes. People stop testing you. Not because you've threatened them, but because they sense there is no point. Negotiations become different. You no longer feel the frantic need to prove, persuade, or appease. You state your position with calm finality, and if it's not accepted, you walk away. Relationships become different. You attract those who respect strength and repel those who seek to exploit weakness. The quality of every human interaction improves. Your own internal experience becomes different. The constant anxiety of, "Am I enough?" begins to quiet because the answer stops being a question. It becomes a statement. I am enough. And if you disagree, that changes nothing. There is a concept in martial arts called zanshin. It refers to the state of relaxed alertness that a warrior maintains even after a technique is executed. The mind remains clear. The body remains ready. There is no moment of vulnerability, no gap in awareness. This is the posture of the dangerous mind, not tension. Tension exhausts, distorts, and makes you reactive, but readiness, a soft vigilance, eyes open, energy conserved, ready to move in any direction the moment requires. Most people live in one of two states, dissociated comfort or frantic reactivity. They are either asleep or panicking. But the dangerous person lives in a third state, present, calm, and fully capable. Machiavelli admired this quality in Cesar Boer, a man he studied closely during his diplomatic missions. Despite Bourget's many cruelties, Machiavelli observed something in him that transcended mere brutality, a capacity for stillness before decisive action. Bourget did not react. He assessed. He waited. And when he moved, the movement was final. This is not about admiring historical monsters. It is about extracting the psychological principle beneath their effectiveness. Stillness creates power. When you are still, others must move first, and in their movement, they reveal themselves. When you are still, your energy accumulates rather than dissipates. When you are still, the world comes to you. Not because you are passive, but because stillness is gravity. The loud, frenetic, constantly reacting person has no gravitational pull. They are always in motion, always dispersed. But the still person draws people in, draws attention in, draws power in. This is the art of the dangerous. To do less while meaning more. To speak less while communicating more. To move less while accomplishing more. It is not passivity, it is precision. Let me tell you what happens when you stay harmless. Nothing dramatic. That's the cruelty of it. There's no sudden catastrophe, no single moment where you can point and say, that's when everything fell apart. Instead, there's a slow erosion, a gradual accumulation of moments where you should have spoken but didn't, where you should have walked away but stayed, where you should have demanded respect but accepted less. Each compromise feels small, survivable, reasonable even. It's not worth the conflict. I'll let it go this time. Maybe I'm overreacting. But year after year, compromise after compromise, you slowly become someone you no longer recognize. One day, you look in the mirror and see a face that has learned to smile on command. Eyes that have forgotten how to hold fire, how to say no, how to mean it. And in that quiet moment, you realize it didn't happen all at once. You gave yourself away gradually until there was barely anyone left to give.